Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Santos, and I am your host. And the Westport Country Playhouse would like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee Break. And this is actually our season one finale of Coffee Break. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It's been such an amazing journey with you all. I had not done Instagram Live before doing this, so being able to be your host on this and have these conversations with you all has been so great. And my guest today, my final guest, I am so excited to speak to Jennean Farmer, who was in our 2019 production of Malima's Tale. And I see that she's in here, so we're just going to jump right into it. Jennean, I see you, and I'm going to add you.
Hey,
Hey, welcome.
how you doing?
I'm good. Have you done Instagram Live before?
You know what? A friend of mine and I did it, and we didn't know we were doing it. That was the first time. I saw she was like painting her wall,
Hmm.
and she was like, "Hey, girl," and she added me in, and we were like, "Oh, we're live. We're not in a private." Oh. And other people were like, "What y'all doing? What y'all doing?" And she was just painting a wall, and we were just chatting. So that was my first Instagram live experience.
Amazing. That's because it's almost like FaceTime just for everyone else to view. It's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I didn't know I was the season one last guest for the season one finale. Oh,
Yes, the special spot.
thank you. I feel honored.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So, let me ask you the first question, which I like to ask all my guests. How have you been taking care of yourself?
Um, During this pandemic, I think, when it first started, I think I was feeling the same way other people were feeling like, oh, it's not going to be here for long.
Hmm.
So I was like, I'm going to take advantage of not having to run all over New York City to my 5,000 jobs, which I have as, a working actor. And I'm going to take a breath.
Mm.
Um, I started journaling. And then as time progressed and I saw that things weren't changing and got a little stressed, I decided to start exercising more. Um, so sometimes I wake up at like 6:30 in the morning and I'll go for a little run. I've been skating. I got some old school like roller skates like that you would get from the skating rink. And so I get up really early in the morning. I skate in my park. I actually went skating this morning. So yeah, a lot of like physical activity has been helping me.
Hmm. Hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like when this first started, like I had this idea in my head that like there's no way it goes to August. And like
Mm-hmm.
are. So like finding ways to still find because like me, I'm someone who plans ahead. Like I like to have a plan. So like this has been really interesting because we don't know when this is going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. So we have to find like joy and try to find a way to find joy and happiness like in the moment. So like I have to
Yeah.
live in this moment rather than me being like, oh, I'm really looking forward to this thing 6 months from now or 3 months from now. Because like that
Yeah.
doesn't exist really anymore.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you. I'm a planner too. So much so that my mom says I don't know how to not do things. She says, you don't know how to be bored. Just be okay
Yeah.
with being bored. So like relax. And so, that's been really helpful. What have you been doing during this pandemic
Yeah. So
to like relax and all that?
hmm, it's really interesting and weird because like before the pandemic, I didn't like to do things like this. Like you would not find me on a video chat. I would not pick up a FaceTime call. But like since that's been the major way for me to connect to people, I've actually like explored that. Like I'm on Zoom meetings with my friends and we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Or like, I'm FaceTiming my parents more, which they love because they're always like, why don't you call us more? And I'm like, you're right. I need to call you, so I'm gonna FaceTime you now tonight. So like those ways, like I've tapped into something that was either uncomfortable or unknown to me, and like I'm finding that is like a really cool way to
Mhm.
connect with the people in my life now.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Jacob, where's your coffee? this is supposed to be coffee break. I went and got a matcha latte. What?
Oh my God.
What are you doing?
That's
First of all, I was like, how we having a coffee break at 5 p.m.? I guess it's noon somewhere, somebody on lunch somewhere. But I was like, let me just go get a matcha latte. I am not about to be drinking coffee at 5 p.m.
Oh, that's so funny because throughout this entire season, I was waiting for a guest to call me out because I don't drink coffee in my real life. So I was like, this is false advertising. I'm the host of this coffee break and I don't actually drink coffee.
Get your tea then. Get your tea. Because I was like, I told myself, I came home after my skate and I was like, I'm going to get ready. I'm not drinking coffee. What can I drink? I need a drink for this. So I was like, let me go get a little matcha latte. And look at you you don't even have water, Jacob. What are you doing?
Like,
you are slipping.
I know, but Jennean, let me ask you another thing I like to ask every guest. Like, what has been your journey with theater? Like, how did that begin for you?
Yeah, so, I could give you the long story. Maybe I can do it in brevity. When I was a little girl, I told my mom that I wanted to be like Rudy on the Cosby Show. I wanted to be an actress. Even, when, I don't know if they still do this, but back in the day, whenever you go to school, they do career day. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I always took a picture of Keisha Knight Pulliam. That's the actress who played Rudy. I always took a picture of her. And as I got older, my mom, I mentioned it again, and my mom kind of poo-pooed it. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. My dad was an elder at a church. We were very much involved in the church. And acting was just kind of like, do you see what they do on TV? My mom was like, actors and actresses are on drugs and get divorced. Church folks can't have that. So I changed my mind and decided to do something else. I went to school for radio, television, broadcasting. I was working as a traffic reporter and realized I wasn't doing what I always said I wanted to do. So I applied to some grad schools in 2006, but I had no idea. I didn't go to undergrad for theater. I knew nothing about theater. And I applied to some schools, didn't get in, was heartbroken. And a friend of mine who worked with me at the radio station referred me to a man named Ekundayo Bandeli. Ekundayo Bandeli. I call him Ek. He runs a theater, black theater company in Memphis, Tennessee called Hattie Lou Theater. And so he gave me she referred me and he said, well, I think I got a part for her. She should just come on down. I didn't audition anything. So I was in this play called I Ain't Your Uncle. We wore like animal masks. And at that time, I had no idea what I was doing. I really didn't even know how, script analysis. I really knew nothing. But that was my first introduction to theater. And honestly, I was so green. I was like, this is a little crazy. I don't know if I want to do this. But Ed kept calling me back for stuff. And I don't know, it just kind of came full circle where I started booking projects and all of that stuff and decided to go to grad school, ended up here. But my first project was I Ain't Your Uncle. I can't even remember my character's name. At the Hattie Lou Theater in Memphis, Tennessee in 2006, 2007.
Oh my goodness. Wow. And that brought you to here. So what I want to talk to you about next is Malima's Tale, which was such an amazing show that we did here at the Playhouse in 2019. And I want to ask you, you played 8 characters, right? And these characters spanned, geographical location, gender. So my first question is, when you went into the audition, did you know that you were up for that many roles, or was it not until you got the contract and you saw that character list where you're like, oh, I'm playing all of these people?
I knew it was that many roles. I actually saw Lima's Tale at the Public when it went up. And it was the it just I feel like I don't even have the words when I saw that piece and how those people, those actors seamlessly just like moved from one character, one person to the next. It blew my mind. And so when my manager sent me the information on the audition, I was actually understudying at Roundabout for Tony Stone. And I I got the audition and I was like, oh God, this is, first of all, this is amazing. How many characters I'm going to be playing. And I also was like extremely nervous. And one of the things I believe is when you get nervous about something, then that's the thing that's probably going to challenge you. That's the thing that you're probably supposed to do. So I just knew that I needed to audition for it. And I actually called some friends. I called a friend who was of Asian descent. I reached out to a friend that was of African descent. I had them read the lines for me, and then I listened back to their lines and just picked up that dialect based off what they were saying. I went into that audition room. It was really fun, but I also just felt so locked in. And when I'm in the zone, when I'm so locked in, there's something within me that makes me feel like this is supposed to be for me, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And then when you went into the actual rehearsal process, like how did you manage to be fully in one character and then jump into another?
Consistency. Like you're constantly rehearsing and constantly switching from one character to another. It's like muscle memory. When you work out, say for instance, if you like do a bench press, when you do bench press and you maybe have never done it before and you do your first set of 10 and your body is a little tired, the next day when you do that bench press and you do that first set of 10 again, your body is like, oh, this is what we're doing. The third day, the fourth day, your body gets used to it. It's muscle memory. So that's why when you're working out, you got to do different things in order to get your body to lose weight. But as far as this is concerned, it's the muscle memory. When you're constantly doing that work, when you're constantly rehearsing for those characters, it starts to become a part of you. Also, Julie Foe, who was our dialects coach, amazing. She really helped us as far as getting like the dialect, but also how our mouths are supposed to be moving, where our tongue is supposed to be in our mouth, where the sound should be placed in our body for those different characters. Also the way our bodies moved. Mark, who was our director, Mark Lamos, because there were characters I was playing men, and there were times where he was like, you got to really like get your body into that position in order to walk as if you were walking like a man. So a lot of consistency as far as like constantly rehearsing those characters, and it got us into our bodies and helped us to flow and like transition from one character to the next. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And one special performance during that run was the student talk back. So I was wondering if you could talk about how it was, one, to perform that show, and also like what was it like to actually speak to those students? Because it wasn't only just Westport students, it was Fairfield County. So we had students from Bridgeport, students from Norwalk. It was really an amazing experience. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I don't know. Jacob, have you ever acted before?
Yeah.
Have you ever done a student matinee before? Like, whenever the kids are in, it's like the kids are like, I feel like there's something that happens to us when we become adults where it's all of a sudden we have to be very PC, even when we go to the theater. Even if you laugh, it's almost like you did the wrong thing by laughing. People are very quiet in the theater. But when kids come to the theater, they are all about like call and response. It reminds me of church. They will like co-sign with you. They will be like, I can't believe, like you hear everything that they're giving you. And the thing is, everything that they're doing, and I said that you hear everything that they're giving you this energy. so that when you're on that stage, you're taking that in, and it helps you go a little further. It helps you even drop in even deeper into the character so that the audience, so that the kids understand what the story is about. It's really hard playing to an audience that's just like, you know, and Lima's Tale is one of those, it's a serious piece, but it's also really funny. And when the audience isn't allowing themselves to like break out of that whole, like, I got to keep it together because I got this tie on or these pearls, like, you know, allow yourself to relax, to enjoy the show. So the kids brought so much energy. And, you know, honestly, Jacob, whenever there is a student matinee, that is the time when I see the most people of color in the audience. And for me, seeing people who look like me, people who have gone through some of the same experiences that I have, that fills me with joy. That lets me know you came out to support this work, and maybe you see something in me that you can also take as far as like your life, as far as your journey. So, you know, those students, seeing people of color in the audience, that always like fills me with so much light, so much joy. And it helps me work harder. And it helps me tell the truth on stage too. Because I feel like kids, they're not going to lie about what they're saying. They're going to give you the real.
Yep.
So, you know, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed doing that show when the kids were in the audience.
Mm-hmm. And you could totally tell, like looking at their faces, that they were so impacted. And that's what I love about student matinees also, just because like, I feel like, it's like you were saying, so many kids of color, like going to actually see a show is the moment that they say, oh my goodness, this is really interesting. What is that? Can I be a part of this? So like, I remember I was in a show in undergrad and my niece came to come see me. And this show was, had a cast of all people of color. So it was all Black folks. And my niece was like this beautiful, dark-skinned Black girl. And she saw the lead actress, who was also a dark-skinned Black woman. And she just connected with her so much that my parents were like, she was in awe of seeing her on stage, to the point like after the show, she specifically went and to go see the actress to get a picture with her. And from that moment, that was like the specific moment that she became interested in theater. And like now she does theater in school. So like you being in the show and you being able to show your craft and your art with them, I just know like it impacted someone in that audience. And then that's so special to have that moment. Yeah, so
yeah, no, I hear you. Like, I hear you completely. And, you know, the thing that, because, you know, I just said that student matinees is usually when I see the most people of color. And what you were saying about this young girl being impacted, these young students seeing someone up on stage that looks like them and taking that and saying, you know, I can do this too. Or I could be a part of this world. Or maybe there is something within that show that you're like, oh, this is what I want to do with my life or my career. It doesn't necessarily have to be acting, but I feel like it's not only children that can be inspired by what they see on stage. There are adults. I said it's only during student matinees that I often see a lot of people of color. But outside of student matinees, I don't see as many people of color. And I think it's really important for theaters to start working towards getting the word out more, including other groups of people, including other communities. The thing is, most subscribers for theaters are over the age of 40 and white. You know you got their money. Mm-hmm. You don't have to work very hard for them. You probably might send them an email. You might invite them to a couple of like galas, all that stuff. Even with student performances, those student performances are set up within a structure. So all the theater has to do is go to the school. Usually the schools have to have something where the kids are a part of some kind of fine arts. It's mandated by the Department of like Education or whatnot. So it's easy to get the students to come in. It's a little harder and a little more uncomfortable for theaters to step outside of their box and say, let me go to another community. Let me reach out to this pastor at this church. Let me reach out to these people at this community center. Let me reach out to this organization that's full of veterans. Let me reach out to these people who are disabled or have low vision. And let me bring them into these houses too. But it's not going to be the same structures, but going to the school where there's already something set up and it's easy. You have to think outside the box as far as getting other people into your theater, people of color, people with disabilities. You have to think outside the box, and you have to be willing to build rapport. It is not about you handing out a flyer to the people at the hotel that your cast and crew stay at. Mm-hmm. Building a rapport, building a relationship means it is an ongoing thing, means that you actually want these people in your theater. And when people who are over these theaters aren't taking the time to step outside of the box, it makes me wonder whether or not they actually want other communities in their theaters. So, I think that's a huge question for people who are running theaters to ask themselves. What are they going to do to step outside the box to bring in other people so that they can hear these stories, so that they too can be inspired? Because I don't want to just only see the kids. I want to see the grown-ups too. I want to see the 70-year-old that's going to be inspired by this show. Our cast was a cast full of people of color, but we only saw the most people of color during the student matinee. And I think that's sad. And I think that theaters really need to do work as far as bringing people in. Because real talk, Jacob, when I was a little girl, mm-hmm. I didn't go to the theater. Mm-hmm. The only time, I saw a show was at school. Yeah. I was usually in the show or at church, like, during Christmas or something, or Easter. Yeah. I didn't understand what theater was. When I was in high school and we read Shakespeare, I was like, what is this? I was not a part of an art school. I went to public school in Memphis. There was not a lot of focus on fine arts. But you can change anybody's life at any time. And this work, working in the theater, being a part of the theater, working as an actor, working as a director, working as a stage manager, working in management, all of those jobs encompass something that can inspire someone outside of your normal community. I feel like people who are in theaters often poo-poo or like they get negative about doing something different because it's not something that they're used to, because they get nervous and they get scared. But when we first started talking, Jacob, I said, when I was auditioning for Mlima's Tale, I was a little nervous. Mm-hmm. And I said, usually it's the thing that makes me nervous that I know that's what I'm supposed to be working toward. I know that's the thing I'm supposed to be doing. And so these people who run these theaters have to step outside of their comfort zone. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Somebody tell you no, they don't want to come? Try. Mm-hmm. Try. Bring people in so we can see, the actors on your stage can see, so that we can be inspired by that and uplifted by that. It always brings me joy when I see people in the audience that look like me. It makes me feel like, yes, they're supporting me. I'm supporting them by doing this work on this stage. Yeah, that was a long answer to your question.
I was so mad for a second that I don't have the option to hit the love button that the audience do, because I want to hit it over and over again. So thank you so much for that. That's such an important message for all of us to be hearing. So thank you so much for that. At my list of questions. Yeah, so we're talking about the industry, so I feel like this is a really good segue. So could you speak on how you have worked to carve a space for yourself within this industry?
Yeah, so as far as carving a space for myself in the industry, this is not like going to school for banking or something, okay? Becoming an accountant, everything is set. You kind of know where you're supposed to go. For me, I find that in this industry, it is very easy for other people to tell me who I am. And so they kind of typecast me, or they put me in a box. And I work really hard to try to find creative ways in order for people to see that I have more layers than that. And I feel like Mlima's Tale is a huge example of that. I often go out for roles where I'm like the cop or the lawyer. And I don't poo-poo those things because I play a cop very well. I can do that too. But how often would I, a Black woman, get the opportunity to play 8 different characters of African descent and of Asian descent? And most of the characters that I played were men, or as far as gender was concerned, they were seen as men. So for me, trying to find ways that I can step outside of the box to show people my layers, that's a part of me carving out a space in the industry for me, not just staying in the one little like space where people are like, oh, she's the authoritarian. Yeah, but maybe I'm the authoritarian that can crack some jokes. I don't know. Like, or maybe I can use a dialect. Other ways that I carve out space for myself, I try to be as strategic as possible. I think, you know, working as an actor, there is no one way of doing anything. And so I try to be very strategic about having information about who I'm going to see for auditions, what those people are doing, any auditions that I'm a part of. I try to do as much research as I possibly can before going in. So for me, carving out a space is also about strategy. The strategy is as far as how do I continue to get in the room? How do I make sure people see these other layers as far as, you know, the work that I'm doing?
Definitely. And going off of that, so as you said, there's like no set path to be an artist or how to make it in this space. So like it's already like tiring to be an artist in general. Like for me, when I think about the theater industry, like it is a white dominated industry. And often if you are a Black person or a brown person in this industry, you're going to find yourself being the only one in this space. So like at the house, I'm the only Black person on staff, but only the person of color on staff in general. So like no one taught me like how to deal with that, or like how to deal with the fatigue of being the only one. So like that, being an artist of color and being an artist in general, like there's so much fatigue that comes with it. So like how do you recharge and like work through that fatigue?
Yeah. You know, honestly, I think, and I've spoken about this before to other people, I think sometimes whenever you're the only person of color in spaces, and I have been that person in many different times in my life, I think sometimes you don't even realize what is going on with you when you're in those spaces, what that fatigue is about. And I think for me, what I've started to learn is that I have to take a step back. I have to go recharge by maybe doing a little bit of a walk. I also have to advocate for myself. If I'm not interested in like talking about something that you want to talk about because you're feeling like guilty about whatever, I can't, don't have time. There are books on that. Like I have to advocate for myself. I also have to, you know, and I also have to just be real about, you know, the place that I'm in, you know. So people are going to maybe say things or do things that make you uncomfortable. And I have to start to prepare myself. And, you know, it's kind of sad that I have to like go into those spaces. You have to kind of like put on your armor. But sometimes you put on your armor in order to go and do your work. And that can be strenuous and that can be tiring. But what I try to do whenever I'm in those spaces is prepare myself, advocate for myself when I just can't do anything, or when I can't talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, or those people in that space want to talk about. And I have to take walks. And I also have to and when I take walks, I tend to listen to podcasts. Those help to like lift my spirits. I've been listening to something as of late. It's this podcast called Girl Trick. And it was started by two Black women, Vanessa and Morgan. I can't remember their last names, but they have this walking series called Black History Boot Camp. And it's about all the people who are many of the people who are part of the African diaspora and the ways in which they have uplifted us. So that's always helpful. And prayer, sometimes you just have, for me, and, I have to be like, Lord, give me peace, give me strength. Help me make it through this day. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then also sometimes I'm okay with, like, when people want to understand something, sometimes I'm like, all right, I'll take this moment to explain what needs to be explained. Because sometimes I'm like, who else is going to do it? Is it supposed to be me? Is this one of the reasons why I'm in this space? Not to say that I want to do it every day, but sometimes it's just like, okay, let me explain to you why this is or what is going on. So, yeah, that's some of the ways in which I try to take care of myself when I'm in spaces where it's just me.
Definitely. So, Jennean, I actually have some audience questions for you.
Ooh, audience questions. Hey, Jillian, I see my friend.
So, yeah, the first question is actually from someone you know. So, Jermaine Rowe wants to know, your co-star from Malima's Tale, what role excites you as an actor?
What role excites me as an actor?
Yeah, what kind of role?
Oh, Lord. Wow, I think I just spoke about, like, ways in which I can tap into the many layers of me. But if anything, it's like those challenging roles that make me a little nervous, that make me a little scared, that make me feel like, I don't know if I want to touch that. I don't know if I want to go that deep. And again, whenever I get that nervous, whenever I feel that challenged, I know that it's something that I need to do. Some roles that are also about my experience as a Black woman. I'm really all about working on projects that are about Black people. And if I could be a part of something that explores how complex we are, how diverse we are, how hard we love, how beautiful we are, even like, some of the horrible things that have taken place with us, but also many of the positive things that have taken place with us. That would be like something that I would be so excited to do.
Definitely.
Hope I answered that question, Jermaine.
I'll make sure he finds out. But I love how you said how you love roles that challenge you, but also that reflect your identity. Because I agree, like, some of the most rewarding jobs I ever worked were ones that I was afraid of, because that challenge helped me grow past where I was. But also, like, in terms of acting, I used to get frustrated when I wouldn't get roles that I knew that was me. Sometimes I wanted to go up to a space and just eat. I just want to eat up the role. Like, I am this person, I'm going to kill it. So, like, I want that role.
Yeah, exactly. No, I understand completely.
So the next question for you is from Francis, and she wants to know, what inspired you to transition to theater after the military? Because you served in the U.S. military.
Yeah. I spoke about this a little bit. So I used to be a traffic reporter. I used to drive around looking for accidents to report on them when I lived in Memphis, Tennessee. And and this was after 9/11. So a lot of the traffic reporting you would have to do in your car. It was something going on to where they didn't want you in helicopters at that time. I can't remember what the rule was, but I would drive around looking for accidents. And so I was always listening to the radio station. And there was this radio host. His name is Michael Baisden. I think he's out of Florida. He has a syndicated talk show. And he does this series called the Live Out Your Dream series. And he was talking to people who were doing jobs that they felt they had to do because that's just like, you get a job, you get your 401k, you get your benefits, You have your wife and 2 kids, or your husband and 2 kids, or your partner or whoever and 2 kids, maybe 3 and a dog, and get a house, and life is good. But it's not always that simple. And so, and just because you have these things, it doesn't necessarily mean you're happy. So Michael Baisden was interviewing people who left those positions that made them comfortable. And those people decided to do something different. And when I was listening to that show, I was sitting in that car, probably at a traffic accident. And I was thinking, I never wanted to be in radio television. I never wanted to be a traffic reporter. I did this because other people were scared. I did this because, like, I thought it was what I was supposed to do. I remember when I told my parents I wanted to apply for school for acting, and my dad said, "You just got back." And he meant I just got back from, like, Iraq. I just graduated. You're in a space that's comfortable. Why would you want to do something that's so risky? Because you've already done something so risky by joining the military, yeah? But I just felt like I can't do things for other people. I can't live my life for anybody else but me. And I'm going to try. I'm going to try to see what happens with this. And it has been a long road, Jacob, a long road. But I still get excited about this work. I still, like, push through and want to do my best work. I still want to inspire people with this work. I hope I answer Francis's question.
Oh, definitely. All right. The next question is from Angie Palacios, and she wants to know, have you picked up any new hobbies during quarantine?
Listen, my hobby is going to be like, it's not, I'm going to tell you. I don't know if y'all know about this app called Design Home, but I'm telling you, it's one of the, like, I love HGTV. So there's this app where you design spaces. This is probably not a hobby. This is like a guilty pleasure, but I be spending days trying to, like, design a space. Like, and I'm seriously into it. It brings me all the joy in the world, especially when I get 5 stars for a space. All my friends know I love Design Home. Sometimes I have to be like, I got to get off this call with you because I got to design a space on Design Home. So I don't know if that's like a hobby, but it is a guilty pleasure. I do spend a lot of time outside, more so than I have in the past. But a lot of the things that I did in the past, I still do. I still read romance novels when I get tired of reading, like, heavy stuff. I love a good romance novel. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jennean, before I let you go, I want to ask you one last question. So you've recommended a lot of stuff to us, but I want to ask you, is there any play, book, movie, song, another podcast, or anything you could recommend to our audience?
Okay. One of my favorite books that I read this year, it actually came out in 2019. It's called Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. It's won so many prizes. It won the Booker Prize. It was Barack Obama's top book for 2019. Roxane Gay said it was her #1 book for 2019. This is Miss Evaristo's 8th book. It's about 12 women 11 women, 1 male, and how their lives kind of like are intertwined in their stories. And it goes from like different periods of time. Some of these women are friends. Some of them are a part of a family. But it was one of the best books I've ever read, read this year. Also, I love the Girl Trek podcast. I've been doing their Black History boot camp. They have a part 1 and a part 2. And I love listening to Sam Sanders' It's Been a Minute on NPR. Those are some of my guilty. Oh, and Trevor Noah. Shoot, You can't, like, I'm always laughing with a good old Daily Show. Trevor Noah.
Awesome. Jennean, thank you so much for joining me here on this season finale of Coffee Break. Yeah.
Yeah!
We
Get
did
your
it.
coffees out. Oh, Jacob doesn't have one.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Oh, Janine, so much. You have been amazing. I wish you the best and stay healthy and stay safe for you and your loved ones.
Thank you. You too, Jacob.
All right. See ya.
See you later.
And y'all, that brings us to the end. Season one of Coffee Break. It is in the bag. I want to thank you all so much for supporting me and supporting these artists through these conversations. It's been such a great experience. Months ago, when I pitched it, I didn't even know I would be the host. You know what I mean? I was just pitching a show to the programming group, didn't know they were going to want me to be it. But, this, like Jennean was saying, it was something that made me nervous. It was something that challenged me, and I would like to think that I've grown so much along with y'all through this process. So thank you so much. And thank you again, Jennean. Coffee Break will be back and there will be a new host. So stay tuned for that. That will be forthcoming. But thank you all so much. So much love. Have a great day. Thank you so much.